Hoi4, well, it's getting pretty boring. And I'm not saying that as in a way like Hoi4 is over, the West has fallen type shit. I'm saying that as in the AI is pretty damn stupid, which means it's pretty much become like the only way I can enjoy the game is by either doing the achievements. I know I just like I said like a trigger word for a lot of people there, including myself.
Why am I so toxic? Because I'm playing achievement runs for 2 months, Alter! Why am I toxic?
But the AI in this game are so horrendously stupid.
It's moving. It's going places. Yeah, you always wonder, like, actually, maybe you haven't. But when you're playing Hoi4 and, like, something goes on in the world that maybe isn't relevant to you, just know, this is what the AI is doing.
That means that I sometimes, seek out these mods or seek out these countries in mods that kind of make the game, well, just a little bit harder. So when somebody told me that the Ottomans were pretty cool and pretty interesting to play, I was like, the Ottomans? And then I saw the situation they were in and the story behind them, and I thought that, wait, that's actually pretty cool. So wait, the Ottomans and Germany and Austria in Kaiserreich, they beat, they won the First World War. I mean, that's pretty cool. But now they're basically just a segment of Europe times 2, and I have to fix that. And they have massive minority problems, and everybody wants their territory, and you have no peace or no love, no anything anywhere. Well, that sounds absolutely great, and I'd love to play that. One of the major issues with the fact like I'm playing a Kaiserreich mod is also the fact like I have to, like stay awake and I have to read. Dun dun dun. I know, like I don't fucking read, okay? But I'll just piece together what's actually happening, and then we can just like go over that. Now, one of the major issues is, of course, the literacy. The literacy in the Ottoman Empire is absolutely horrendous, minus 50% research rate, but that also means there's nobody in the Ottoman Empire who have ever watched anime, because that requires you to be able to read subtitles. We did it, boys. Anime is no more.
You are weak sperm, you are weak sperm. This is the strong sperm, this is the Greek god, okay, Greek god.
And also, apparently, our economy is doing great, considering the fact we had 31 factories. I think that's a bit of a lie. I don't really believe that. Whoever made this event should get shot in Minecraft.
Hey, can I drive?
Well, I can't see the harm.
But we also have the major thing, which is the turmoil. And the turmoil basically scales like how much unrest we have in provinces, means that how much stability we basically lose. And you have to do these little events here to integrate the territory, and if you don't do it, well, you lose a core, and that thing can never be cored again, and can never be integrated again, which means now you've lost permanent manpower. Let's hope we don't get a couple rebellions. But at this point, I thought everything was going pretty great, until I get an event telling me that people are talking about a greater Syrian independent state. That's of course, worrying me a bit. But that article has to be fake, because how could anybody be unhappy in the Ottoman Empire? And just like every other country in Keiserreich, you already know that the economy is never gonna go great. And that's of course when Black Monday happens, which means now I have to focus all my time on getting rid of Black Monday debuffs. Great. Not like I have an empire that's tearing itself apart and now I have to fix the economy.
Yeah, well, the Wasteland's got its own golden receiver.
Oh, what's that?
Thou shalt get sidetracked by bullshit every goddamn time.
And the moment you finally think everything is going alright, I mean, I'm picking all the decisions, getting rid of turmoil, my stability is actually at 52, how can anything get worse? Well, that's of course when one of your puppets gets invaded by the Saudis. I didn't want that puppet anyway. Fuck you. Fuck you. Now, there aren't a lot of things that makes me happy, but whenever I see the Belgrade Pact is forming and I'm playing the Ottomans, you know I'm about to coom. Because that, of course, means free territory. I love it when I get a bad event because some people can't, solve difficult math questions. I wanted that one stability. Now, it's very cute for the Bulgarians to come and be like, hey, well, try not to invade us, right? Like, we kind of know what's going to happen soon, and please don't invade us. But that's very cute, right? If I was gonna accept that. But no, I want war. I want to kill you all, okay? So I'm not gonna accept any form of like treaties or anything like that, because I want to kill them. Also, very cute of the Assyrians to launch a rebellion right as I'm going into Bulgaria. Very cute, very interesting. I just love to see that. I just love to see that. The Assyrians and Bulgarians will then swiftly occupy it, and I got my core territory of Northern Thrace and Lower Thrace, or whatever they're called. I don't know Greek geography. Ottoman geography? Ottoman geography, yes, of course. Now, if you haven't noticed, the Iranians own a little bit of territory in Arabia, which is right next to my territory. I can't really let that stand, so I decided to sail all my ships out to it, steal their lunch money, take their girlfriend, and well, I did lose 10 stability, but I call that a win. Especially when right after they instantly back down and decide not to go to war with me. It's hard to fail as the Ottomans, because the Ottomans always stay winning. Ever heard anybody say anything bad about living in the Ottoman Empire? Fake news, baby. I mean, right now, we have brought so much new to the Empire. I mean, we brought factories, we brought new territory, we are even, like, stopping a lot of the instability in our nation. I mean, how much could they really throw at us here? I mean, I've been lied to. This has been an absolute Egyptian invasion. I mean, that's easy. I'll go down there and crush them immediately. I mean, Syrian revolt. See, that one can be a bit of a... Saudi Arabia as well. Listen, I mean, it's all just, you know, nomads, it's one front, I can easily take... Kurdistan. Okay, I mean, they barely start with an army, I can easily beat... Iran as well. Okay, if I pull back the front, I mean, I could... Azerbaijani rebellion. And Georgia wants territory. Whenever you are one of the best Hoi4 players, maybe even the best Hoi4 player in the world, there is one thing you gotta do to show absolute dominance against the AI. And that is to hold the line and hope you don't die. Now, with the immense onslaught of territory I'm about to lose if I don't, you know, get my army together immediately, I pull back my territory, try to hold somewhat of a cohesive line across the front, with the fact that, again, there's apparently a fucking wall between me and the Saudi Arabian border, which, again, is gonna help me a lot here. I can form up into two major armies, one that holds against the Iranians and Azerbaijani, Kurdish, and also the Georgians, and one that holds against the Syrians, Egyptians, and Saudi Arabians. Now, calling me surprised the fact like I had no idea that I was going to be invaded in such a matter. I have not done a single research into, well, any form of military besides like guns. And also I have not done a single focus that gives me plus organization, extra attack, extra defense. I haven't really done any of that, because I never really got the feeling that I was going to be attacked by a power that I wouldn't be able to, well, beat. Now I'm against the entire Middle East, and I have to somehow win.
In terms of
Guns!
we have no
Guns!
Diddy is having the most crazy freak off and I am jerking my wiener!
get the plane back inside of us.
Pulling back and essentially holding these like core areas, which basically allows me to, well, not die. Because apparently one of my friends told me that if you lose too much, well, you just get insta-peaced out. I'm not planning on being insta-peaced out, so holding the line was the best I could do. The fact that most of these nations are, well, piss nations, which means they barely have a military industry, they barely have any manpower, which that basically means that, again, they're not gonna last that long. They're basically just, you know, small, insignificant pieces of territory, which won't be able to fight me in the long run. The Eastern Front, with against the Iranians and the others, did absolutely nothing but throw their men against me, and I decided to do one of the most powerful things that is in the game right now, and that is create Mountaineers. Mountaineers, if you haven't really used, you know, Mountaineers lately, they are absolutely fucking busted. They get extra organization, they get extra attack, they get basically everything, and on the hardest point in the entire game you can fight on, which is, again, against the mountain, they get an attack buff on that. So, I hope you're not surprised when I instantly smash through the Syrian lines and completely get my first encirclements in this entire game. As most of these nations haven't really got the time to build up, you know, weapon caches, build up anything, I am slowly getting an encirclement after an encirclement, and after some time I get Syria out of the war. Which is also crucial guns that I need to keep my war effort going, as every single time I lose a gun, I don't really recover it, as I barely have any military factories that are producing guns. When my stability continuously fluctuates between -4 and 31, I'm also barely even producing anything because my stability is so low. I'm getting such debuffs on construction that it's getting, well, quite hard to actually construct enough guns to keep this army afloat.
I always like to show how much I appreciate my fans.
Ramen! Are you sleeping, you fat fuck? Come on!
With Syria and Egypt out of the war, I have to, well, kill one of my old vassals. Fairly easy considering most of the army got encircled in Syria, so it's basically just a clock walk in. And then we're off to Saudi Arabia. Now most of Saudi Arabia's army was encircled in, well, Syria again. It's kind of like the, it's going to be like a point in history where they're going to write like stories about that. Remember that time when the Ottomans encircled all those people in Syria? Yeah, I remember that. Great times, if you are Turkish. After Saudi Arabia's fall, another country decided to join the war, which was the Greeks, which meant that again I had to divert troops to Greece that could essentially have gone down to help against Yemen. But no matter, considering the fact that I had like these like insane mountaineers, again, highly recommend you use mountaineers in this game, we could slowly get rid of Yemen, and then we could move on to finally pacifying Iran, which is the hardest part of this entire little faction, even though most of these countries are not even allied to each other. Encirclement after encirclement and manpower I really couldn't spare on just like losing it in the desert, ended up going to, well, being lost in the desert. But considering the fact that the AI doesn't really understand that when the lines are broken and it doesn't know what to do, it just falls completely apart, and I could just walk in, clock walk in, and just take Tehran and all the other VPs. Now with all of these different nations now dead, we move on to the last one in the little goon squad that decided to gang up on me, and that is Greece. Now Greece, funnily enough, actually was the one that took the longest to take, and somehow decided to throw over 200,000 men to their deaths immediately into the war, getting encircled and then ultimately killed. I'm telling you, mountaineers are absolutely busted. And with the Ottomans also having a bit of a special decision thread here, I could also make the Egypt into apparently a puppet, or like a sultanate puppet. If you've ever played EU4, you'd know what I'm talking about, which then leads to them essentially giving you a bunch of factories, a bunch of different stuff, and it's actually pretty good. It actually helps like recovering your economy after having been to a war for this amount of time. As the Greeks were, of course, you know, dying in the mountains, I was slowly able to like move in, and I decided to, why don't I do a naval invasion? As I then found out that the Ottoman Empire doesn't start with naval invasions invented. Why it requires an invention to understand what a naval invasion is, I'll still know I don't understand Paradox, but apparently you just don't start with that. Coinciding with my, well, inevitable victory over the Greeks and the entire Middle East, and the Russians had apparently conquered most of Eastern Europe, as well as some of Germany. And the communists, you know, communist England and France, had apparently conquered the other half of Europe, which then meant that this is a pretty good thing, right? Because the only country that I have to beat is Russia, and Russia is now on their own with the little puppets. I can get help from the communists, and while I'm slowly building up, I am slowly like doing a lot of these decisions that help me, well, basically get control over my nations, and also considering the fact like I'm constantly like constipated by the fact like I have no stability. This entire game has been zero stability basically. I am not producing a single thing. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I'm constantly at least like getting minus 70 stability every single time I'm doing anything. As I then decided to go down the war path that I didn't know I had opened up in my focus tree, and then realizing that apparently to go the war path, not the pacifist path, Germany apparently had to be alive. So I've just cocked myself out of like the entire path and won't get any buffs from it. Very cool game. I love that. It means that now I'm just waiting for, well, the communists to finally attack the Russians. And this took fucking years, mate. It took fucking years. I was, holy shit, man. I feel like 15 hours older. But slowly building my army up, again, it was necessary, as I decided to start, like, justifying a claim on the Russians, which, again, I have to start this war. I can't make this video for the entire day. I decided to make my major crush towards the Caucasus. As the Caucasus had the oil, it also has a lot of manpower. It has most of the territory that I wanted. Again, the Georgian. As far as I know now, there is an event. If I take enough of Russia, they're going to give me Georgia and complete another rule over the Caucasus. So that was my plan. I was going to call in all my allies and decide to basically take that territory and hope for peace, that it would happen immediately. As my manpower was running out, I barely had any stability, as I've never had stability in the entire game, but I had to do it. With small encirclements happening pretty much like everywhere I went, I was very lucky because the communists also decided to attack Russia, which meant that a lot of that attention was of course diverted towards them, as I'm kind of like a sideshow. And I can slowly get these encirclements. I can also get a lot of the oil, which again will hurt Russia in the long run. And with my taking of the Russian oil, I decided to start moving into Bulgaria, which at this point was a Russian puppet. Same with Romania and Yugoslavia, which is where I put all my mountaineers and started to crush the Bulgarians, which again, after having lost all their equipment and were basically a puppet now, that meant that they were basically never really meant to hold, as they fell immediately without any Russian support, which all of the Russian support there was went directly towards the Germans in the Western Front. Romania fell soon after, as my rush towards Astrakhan in the Caucasus region slowly disappeared, as I barely had enough troops, my manpower was getting low, I couldn't put more troops out, I was basically just attritioning. It was shit. Imagine being a troop in the Astrakhan front. I mean, there's things that suck, and then there's the Astrakhan front. Again, there's not a lot of things I like about Hoi4 less than having to pull out of like a place. However, the one push that really did work a lot was my push towards Ukraine. Ukraine fell basically immediately with multiple encirclements, the AI making that little dumb fuck, little like front line across somebody that I'm not even at war with. Why the AI does that, I still have no fucking clue, but that's I love that mechanic. With Crimea falling and slowly taking Sebastopol, or whatever the fuck it's called, I basically were almost about to win, as the Russians were basically being pushed back on every front. I was even pushing them in the Caucasus again, with encirclements happening on basically every single front and the Russians just absolutely getting demolished. They decided to do the one thing that would probably the best thing they could do. Give me reign over Georgia, Azerbaijan, and that last nation that is in there. And I of course took that, because that's what I wanted from the start. The Iranians got their territory back, I got my Caucasus back, was able to make puppets there. I can look back and see that I made one hell of an Ottoman Empire, and I'm kind of happy. I mean, 1944 ending the game. Sure, it was a quick game, but it definitely wasn't as hard as I thought it would be, and it was definitely not as hard as people told me it was gonna be. So if you have any nations out there that I can play or I can do, I would love to, because again, this was very fun. I'd love to play an even harder nation that's actually, like just actually hard, and it requires a lot of micro and not just, standing and holding until the enemy burns out on you. But yeah, this was fun. As they always say, no one is unhappy in the Ottoman Empire besides the people that suddenly disappear at night.
Driving in my car right after a beer.